Hey, what is going on, everyone? Well, I am so glad that you have took your time to spend with me right here today on the MRB Wrestling Review Show. I am your co-host, Mike McGrath-Wilson, and last night was TNA Impact Wrestling. And what I really liked about the show last night was that there were little seeds have now been planted now for Bound for Glory. You know, with a couple of backstage segments, one with Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson, where they talk about get the job done and etc. with Bound for Glory coming up, and it seems like there's going to be some sort of thing happening now with Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson. There could be something happening in the future for those two. If in fact Mr. Anderson does win the Bound for Glory series, you never know that Bully Ray could get his world title back, which I will get to later on, and face Bully Ray at Bound for Glory. Sometimes you just never know. Maybe Mr. Anderson is working double duty and that he's still on the side of TNA and not Aces and Eights and working undercover. I've been saying that all along about Mr. Anderson because you know why? He's an asshole, that's why. Anderson. Anyway, and as well as Sting and Kurt Angle last night, you know, with the backstage segment of them talking about, you know, making sure Bully Ray stays not being the World Heavyweight Champ and get rid of Aces and Eights once and for all. And they never really explained what happened last week when Kurt Angle came back in that truck and was kind of limping a bit his way back to the Impact Zone. They never really explained what happened last week, so they kind of left that hole still there. But hopefully, you know, as the weeks to come, they'll capitalize on that little plot hole, and we'll see what happens. And it seems like that Kurt Angle might have a thing with Sting going in for Bound for Glory, which the main event Mafia really is cool, you know. It's not really new, you know, we've seen it before, but I think the second time around it's not going to last as long as the first time it was around. But with all that being said, the show kicked off last night with the main event Mafia, and they came out and Kurt Angle introduced the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion Chris Sabin. Sabin, excellent on the microphone, and week after week now, Chris Sabin has been getting really good on the microphone. And what did he do? He challenged the winner of the Ultimate X match, whoever it may be, to a match like within the next couple of weeks or so. And shortly after that, Bully Ray comes out and turns the table with his lawyer. And his lawyer looked like a short version of Kevin Nash if Kevin Nash had the gray beard and the gray hair. Just saying. Anyway, you know, sometimes when a lawyer talks on the microphone, it usually comes off as really bad. But with this guy, he was pretty good at really getting the heat from the audience. And with a Bully Ray there, it was all well and good. And it's cliched, right? Of course, nice cliche moment, but it worked. What happened was that they threatened to sue TNA and everyone else and Chris Sabin if Bully Ray doesn't receive his World Heavyweight Championship back by the end of the night. And you have to wonder, after coming back with 2 torn ACLs and having a heartfelt match last week, is Chris Sabin really going to give Bully Ray back his world title? I will get to that later on this review. Also last night, it was an Ultimate X match. Speaking of Ultimate X, it was Sanjay Dutt, Greg Marchullo, and Manic. And the funny thing was about this match that there was more wrestling than trying to grab the championship that's hanging, you know, above, you know. So that was a little weird. But, you know, with all that being said, before the match, you know, we see a little vignette of Manic of how he kind of became this alter ego, and now this Manic character, which we kind of needed because we needed that explanation of what Manic should be, and without having to say, okay, we all know who Manic is, but see, here's the cool thing: they got a story now to see what Manic is to this guy that's playing Manic, so it's justified, to say the least. And with that said, there's a couple of good triple threat moments, within that match. Like I said, there's more wrestling than climbing, and at the end, Manic got the win. I like it because Manic could be one of those guys that could turn heel, but still kind of gain that respect from the crowd because he is who he is, right? Of course. And what was interesting also about that match was that it got really suspenseful, within the last few minutes, where you saw, Greg Marchullo and Sanjay Dutt high up there, and there was like, whoa, who's gonna fall, right? And then, of course, you saw Manic coming in, sweeping in, grabbing the title, got the victory. So that was pretty cool and pretty intense, even within the last few minutes of that match. Also last night, in a Bound for Glory Series match, Mr. Anderson defeated Hernandez and gains 14 points in the Bound for Glory Series. I think Mr. Anderson should be one of the Final Four. It should be Mr. Anderson, Samoa Joe, Magnus, and AJ Styles. And the only reason why I say that is because two of those guys are in the Main Event Mafia. One is in Aces and Eights, and there's a war between Aces and Eights in the Main Event Mafia right now. And then you have the Lone Wolf, who's like the odd guy out, and to have that odd guy out be the winner of the Bound for Glory Series is really the ultimate goal. And I think that's what should happen with the Bound for Glory Series. And with all that being said, Mr. Anderson got the victory. And the funny thing is with Hernandez, I don't think he's the guy that should win the Bound for Glory Series. I think his destiny lies with Chavo Guerrero one-on-one at Bound for Glory, in my opinion. Also last night, Eric Young backstage with Joseph Park, and he showed Joseph Park what happened in his match against Jeff Hardy when he got disqualified. And explained, when he bled, he kind of went into the metamorphosis, became Abyss, and, of course Joseph Park is going to kayfabe this whole thing and said he blacked out. He didn't know what happened. Of course you don't know what happened. We all know you're Abyss. But Eric Young said, I'm going to find out what happened. Okay. There's really no need because we all know who Joseph Park is. He's Abyss. And speaking of Abyss, where has he been? Ever since he won the television title to Devon, he really hasn't shown up in a while. I'm really disappointed at that because I was hoping to see that title defended more and more now that Abyss has become the champ. But you know what? There's really no need for that title anymore because it just really lost legitimacy. So with that being said, I think they already just dropped the ball with this. Also last night, Velvet Sky let the audience and Mickie James and Gail Kim know that she'll be out ringside to see the Knockout Championship match. And with that being said, Mickie James, Gail Kim, Knockout Championship match. I like the teases. There's a couple of teases between ODB and Gail Kim that there could be something happening. And then of course, Gail Kim kind of at the end gets in ODB's face, and there's something's going to happen there between ODB and Gail Kim. And with that being said, Mickie James kind of swept in there and stole the victory over Gail Kim. And then it got really heated with ODB and Gail Kim. Brooke Hogan comes out and says she says, Gail, ODB is already an active roster, and then there's a whole thing with them two, and with the Velvet Sky being there, and I think there's something going to happen now with Velvet Sky and Mickie James future Knockout Championship match. I'm alright for it, but the only thing I really didn't like that came off of that was that this thing with ODB and Gail Kim. really, in this rivalry, no one has anything to gain from it. I mean, Gail Kim is already a knockout that can, make the other knockout look good, and ODB is already, an established knockout who really don't need any, evolving, so to speak. So there's really nothing to gain out of this rivalry. I don't mind, pairing the two up for a rivalry. It's just that there's really nothing to gain for any of them. But with Velvet Sky and Mickie James, Velvet Sky needs that Knockout Championship back. But what about Tara Terrell? How is Tara Terrell going to be involved in the whole grand scheme of things in the Knockouts division? Hey, sometimes you just never know with these things. Also last night, Christopher Daniels went one-on-one with Samoa Joe in a Battle for Glory series match. And what I like about this match is that there's a lot of history between those two, and it helped building the X division. So and what happened, a few moments ago with the Ultimate X match, it was all well and good. It was great flow, throughout this, this entire episode. So Christopher Daniels got the victory over Samoa Joe because Mr. Anderson cost Samoa Joe the match. So, that tension with the war between Aces and Eights and the Main Event Mafia was pretty good. The only thing I didn't like about the whole Aces and Eights thing is that the only two guys that were on the show were the President and the Vice President. The Sergeant at Arms wasn't there, neither was any of the other guys. Where was Knox? Or Garrett Bischoff or Wes Briscoe? None of them were there. But, with all that being said, it was all well and good. Also, last night, the main event was Jeff Hardy going one-on-one with AJ Styles in the Battle for Glory series match, where AJ Styles got the victory via submission against 22 points. What I like about this match is that Jeff Hardy really didn't need to win that match. All he had to do was make this character of AJ Styles look great at the end of the night. And with that being said, he done just that. And with the icing on the cake, Jeff Hardy wants that handshake from AJ Styles, and AJ Styles refused. Great execution. And with all that said, it was an excellent match. And AJ Styles looks good. I think he will be the guy to win the Battle for Glory series. Jeff Hardy already won the Battle for Glory series, so we really don't need to win it again. And now it's Bobby Roode. So AJ Styles is one of those very few guys. The Final Four. He's one of the Final Four guys to be in the Battle for Glory series in the weeks, months to come. And there's only a couple months left for the Battle for Glory series. And then the winner will face the world champ, whoever it may be. And speaking of the World Heavyweight Championship, Hulk Hogan's decision regarding the World Heavyweight Champ, well, let's just say he made a match for next week. It will be Bully Ray and Chris Sabin going one-on-one in a steel cage match on August 15th at Hardcore Justice. And of course, throughout that last segment, of course, it's cliched. Sabin comes out and refuses to give the World Heavyweight Champ. Hulk Hogan makes a match after. It was really a cliche moment, but you know what? Sometimes cliches are necessary on an old school show like TNA, where, they're kind of, keeping up where WWE left off in the Attitude Era. So it was all well and good. Last night TNA was actually a pretty good show last night. And that was my review of Impact Wrestling. I'm your co-host for the MRB Wrestling Review Show, Mike McRock Wilson. Get plenty of rest, and always do your best.